Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese here as always with Nima Tavale. So just 2 rounds to go in the Serie A season. Now Napoli of course are already champions, but they face something of an exodus this summer with coach Luciano Spalletti and stars Victor Osimhen and Min-Jae potentially leaving. We'll look at what is likely to happen and also review their weekend win over Inter. Inter's 8-match win streak ends, but they do have the Coppa Italia final on Wednesday. We'll preview that final against Fiorentina. Milan got back to winning ways, but they are only going to get back in the top 4 because Juventus are getting another points penalty. We'll have an update on Juventus' legal cases and also debate Max Allegri's future after Juventus were knocked out of the Europa League on Thursday. Lazio have all but booked a top 4 place now. We'll look at the relegation race and much, much more as well. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode, which we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all the questions sent in from our Patreons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month, plus VAT. For all of you that are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, we'd really greatly appreciate a 5-star rating and give us a follow or a subscribe, and that really helps us to grow. Same goes to those of you who follow us on YouTube as well. Okay, Nima, let's start off with Napoli versus Inter. So, Napoli, champions already. Inter on an 8-match winning streak. It was billed as the champions of Italy versus the Champions League finalists. And it was Napoli who came out on top. They win 2-1 in what was a very, very exciting, let's say, last quarter to this game. From Napoli's point of view, Nima, I mean, I guess there's nowhere else to look first but the winner from Di Lorenzo, which was an absolute worldie, wasn't it?
Oh, one of the goals of the season. One of the, with his weaker left foot as well. And I remember our good friend Patrick Kendrick referring to him as the Cafu from Tuscany, a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think he might be onto something really there. Because look at the goals he's scoring and look at his overall play. I mean, what a fantastic player. What a character to have. I mean, his attitude, his leadership qualities, who wouldn't want to have him in their team? Not just because of his performances, but also everything he does. I mean, he's one of the players who charges Napoli on. He's the one who steps up, takes responsibility. No, he really is turning into an iconic character at Napoli. One who they will rally around and one who they will remember for forever. Or I'm sure they will, but I think he's reaching kind of levels that has in the past maybe been reserved for the absolute greatest at Napoli via his incredible leadership. And that goal is simple. There's not a goalkeeper in the world that saves that. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, if you look at it, he places it into the top corner with his weaker left foot. It's truly, truly a fantastic goal. And I think overall, for me, he was one of Napoli's best players, if not the best player. I thought him and Anguissa were the 2 best players that Napoli had on the day.
Yeah, and Anguissa was a monster in this game, and he was back to his best for sure. He has had a bit of a dip in 2023. Hasn't been the same as he was in the first half of the season, but he was back to his best, and he scored a great goal as well. Actually, the turn was not something that you expect from a player of his size to swivel and turn like that and get the power in the shot as well. But yeah, I think this kind of completes the season for Napoli because Inter were the only team in Serie A they hadn't beaten this season. They've beaten all 19 teams, which actually is a lot harder than it seems. It doesn't happen that often that you win the championship and then beat every single team in the division. So that was great as well. I should also just clarify that Napoli won this game 3-1 and not 2-1. I just saw that the Di Lorenzo goal was just worthy of being a winner. But Gaetano did score a third goal in injury time, of course, and his first goal for the club, he was in tears. I mean, he's been at the club since 11 years old, and he's been at Cremonese in the last couple of seasons. Obviously, hasn't played that much this season, but that was really nice. That was a really nice.
It was really beautiful to see. I mean, he's a local lad who is part of a team, is part of the, grew up in Naples, born in Naples, came up through the youth ranks at Napoli, is part of the squad that wins Napoli's third Scudetto, the first in 33 years, and he gets to score his first goal against Inter at home. I mean, that's what football is, isn't it? I mean, that's what football's all about. Anyone who's ever played football, that's your dream when you're a kid, isn't it? To do that. And I thought it was really, really beautiful to see, and his tears as well, his reaction as well, and his friends and family and everyone. It was really, really nice. It was a beautiful thing for football, and that to do it at home at the Stadio Armando Maradona, that was packed and buzzing. No, it was nice to see. I think it was
beautiful. It was before we talk about Inter, let's talk about Napoli moving forward now, because this win was great, but there is a lot going off the pitch right now at Napoli. And it is a shame, to be honest, because this has been such a historic season that it feels like what is going on with Spalletti and De Laurentiis is at the moment, anyway, is spoiling things. And, when the story started emerging over Spalletti leaving, and I thought at first I didn't really believe in it that much, to be honest. I thought that this was just your classic Spalletti wanting a pay rise, De Laurentiis playing hardball, stories getting put out in the press from both sides from Spalletti's side, certainly through his agent and everything, trying to put pressure on De Laurentiis to give him a pay rise. And yes, maybe there was a little bit something in there in terms of, feeling a little bit disrespectful that, his contract was extended by a year via an automated email. And there wasn't any congratulations, apparently, from De Laurentiis to winning the Scudetto. He felt like, this is a great achievement that it hadn't been recognised. I thought at first that, there was probably a bit of that, but I thought it was more down to, this is just negotiations, basically. But now the more that's coming out, and then seeing what Spalletti said last night, he was almost saying goodbye last night. And now I'm thinking, well, actually, maybe there is something more to this now.
Yes, there is more to this. It's obvious that there is more to this. And De Laurentiis has got, anyone who listens to this podcast and anyone who's followed me through the years about De Laurentiis, I've always said that I think that people in Naples or fans that criticize him are a little bit too harsh, because I think what he's done with Napoli is given them balance and stability, financial one, and been able to win trophies, which is something they've never had in their history. Never. But I wonder if he's starting to show signs of megalomania here, because he is on the verge of losing his sporting director and his championship winning coach here, through him being this kind of, pushy, not so diplomatic guy who extends Luciano, activates the option in Luciano Spalletti's contract without informing Luciano Spalletti, which has really ticked him off. And he thinks he deserves a salary increase, Spalletti. And, we know how De Laurentiis is with money. He runs a tight ship, and, I think he has to. Otherwise, Napoli would never be in the position they are. But you have to be a little bit more diplomatic. The season's not even over, and it's starting to look like, like it's imploding, the entire project. And he needs to be careful here, because if it implodes, he is bitten off more than he can chew, because that incredible joy, that happiness, all of that positive energy in Naples towards him for what they've done can easily and quickly swing the whole 180 degrees round the pendulum and become completely toxic. And that is not a situation that he will survive in Naples. They will chase him out of town. They will run him out of town, because he's messing with balances here that are far greater than what he can control, unless, of course, he already has a backup plan in place and is just waiting for the season to end before he unveils it. That can also be a possibility here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I mean, if there's one thing about Spalletti, is he is quite proactive. He is a very proactive person. So he is somebody that decides to make the change before it's obvious to everyone else. And
no, I'm talking about from De Laurentiis' perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from De Laurentiis' perspective. I'm wondering whether De Laurentiis has already made a decision. I'm going to get rid of Spalletti, and I've already got a coach lined up who I think is going to be better, is younger, is going to freshen things up.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
That's what I wonder. And maybe I'm thinking. Maybe we'll be here in 6 months' time saying, you know what, he's made the right decision again, because we were questioning.
Well, exactly.
Most people, I know you're probably one of the few ones that didn't, but most people were questioning his decisions last summer.
I thought they were brilliant last summer. I thought they were absolutely spot on. Every single one, to get rid of Koulibaly, Insigne, Mertens, Ruiz was genius, and to get paid as much as he did, financing his entire summer market, maybe even turning a little bit of a profit.
Well, yeah, but the number of people that he got rid of at once, and that's where Napoli stand now. They could lose their coach, they could lose their sporting director, Giuntoli, who's built this whole project. Everything.
But I wonder. I mean, that's something we'll talk about in the Juventus section. We're hearing things about how Giuntoli that seems less likely now of him going to Juve.
Well, it's because De Laurentiis is holding on. Is holding on to him. Giuntoli and Juventus. I know. I've spoken to people. That is agreed. He's already agreed a contract with Juventus. It's all done. It's all done from the Juventus and Giuntoli side. All done. The salary, everything. It's all done. Giuntoli wants to join Juventus. Everything's sorted from that end. The only thing that's holding it up is Giuntoli agreeing with De Laurentiis about leaving. He's still got a year left on his contract, and De Laurentiis is he wants, if Giuntoli is going to leave, he wants compensation from Juventus, and so that's the issue with Giuntoli. But then you've got the players as well. You've got Osimhen and Kim. I think it's. If the money is paid up, I think it's inevitable Osimhen leaves, and Kim will Napoli have no power over that because he's got a release clause, and it seems like there's Premier League teams that will pay that release clause in the first 2 weeks of July. So again, it's a lot. It goes back to what I've said. Last summer was genius. It was incredible. It paid off, but you can't do that year after year after year, and it's not sustainable. It might work 1 year. It worked last year. It was a perfect storm. They got rid of aging players who were past their best or were getting past their best, and everyone that they brought in, it just worked. That doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work.
No, there is a risk involved. There's no doubt that there's risk involved, but I get the feeling that De Laurentiis does have something lined up. And as for Giuntoli, look, Sky were talking about that it seems much less likely that that Giuntoli goes to Juventus now. And that they were talking about the in-house solution at Juventus. They didn't really say anything, so I don't want to interpret or read too much into it, but I couldn't tell if that was from Juventus side or from De Laurentiis side or both. They were very coy on that, at least from what I saw when I was watching Caressa and these guys talk about this. So that depends entirely on what Juventus are also in turmoil. So we'll have to wait and see. But to me, it suggests I understand Spalletti. He's turning 65 soon. He has one big contract left in him, one or two, and he wants to make the right choice.
Where does he go, Spalletti, if he leaves, do you think? Tottenham?
No, God, I would never wish that on him.
But do you think he will go there, though?
Oh, I hope not. I think that would be a mistake. I think Spalletti going to Tottenham would be a mistake. I think there are other teams in England that I would rather see him in. But if there is an offer, sure. Well, they need a sporting director as well. Spalletti is at the stage in his career where he wants to, he needs to see what the sporting project is. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I think Milan will make it into the top four, but in the end, when everything's said and done, after Juventus penalties handed out. But I think they'll still manage to do that. But I think him at Milan would be fantastic. I think he would be able to develop Milan in a way, and it would be such a revenge on Inter as well, wouldn't it, if he were to go there and do something important there. So I think Milan is
Napoli.
Is one of
Napoli
those.
is definitely one to watch. That's for sure. I'm sure that there'll be plenty more opportunities to discuss. But I mean, from Inter's
I'm
point
thinking
of view,
De Zerbi could go to Napoli. I can't shake off that feeling more and more. That given how everything looks and given how the wage
I mean, De
structure.
Zerbi's been quite clear that he wants to stay in the Premier League. But I think there are options there. There's Italiano, there's De Zerbi, there's Nagelsmann that's even been mentioned. I'd like to see Nagelsmann and De Laurentiis, two egos there fighting it out. That would be fun.
Well, there's been talk of Conte as well, which I find really, really.
There's even been talk of Klopp as well, which I don't think is possible because his salary's too big. But
but Conte would be fascinating because those two will never agree. That is just a ticking time bomb from day one. But it would be fascinating to see what Conte could do with this squad.
I also think his salary demands are too high as well. But again, we've discussed this about Conte and how if he wants to come back to Italy, he has to.
No, he has to. I mean, regardless of where he goes.
But he needs to take a massive PA decrease.
Well, that's what I mean. Regardless of where he goes,
even more than half is paid.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, he has to. De Laurentiis doesn't break his wage budget.
Well, talking about a former Conte team, Inter. I mean, from their point of view, I mean, this game is pretty easy to analyse from Inter's point of view. That they played almost their entire backup team because the Coppa Italia final was coming up. The Gallardini red card obviously, made things even more difficult for Inter in this game. And they were the second best team in this game. They almost got away with a draw with Lukaku continuing his fantastic form. But ultimately, I guess this was everything that was to be expected, really. And it's not really going to harm Inter that much. But it was. If anything, there's one positive I would bring out of this game. I think it was a useful test for Inter in that this is the kind of game they're going to have against Liverpool, against Manchester City.
Agreed.
In the final. So
that's exactly it. Simone was able to rotate 7-8 players, played his B team, and it was the kind of game that they are going to have to go through. They're going to have to learn to suffer, like we said on Thursday. And against Man City, defensively, they're going to have to work hard without the ball, and he did so with the second string players. And they got 1-1. And they, had it not been for that fantastic, wonderful goal, piece of brilliant skill by Di Lorenzo, this game ends 1-1, and Inter snatch a point, which suggests to me that they are looking like they're looking like that. They're looking more cohesive, more united, more together than ever before under Simone Inzaghi, and that's a really good place to be. And at the end of the day, Inter. This was not a must-win game for Inter. They could even afford to lose. And now they've got Vincenzo Italiano and Fiorentina in Rome on Wednesday night, and then they've got Atalanta on Saturday. Inexplicably on Saturday, both Fiorentina and Inter play on Saturday, after playing the Coppa Italia final on Wednesday, which is ludicrous. It made Marotta completely explode and blow his top. And talk about that, you're risking the health of the players. And you can't disagree with that. They've been playing every 3 days since April 1st. That on the back of a very exhausting and long season anyway. So
it's a bit of a surprise. Serie A doing things that are not good for Serie A. I mean,
it's like, are you unhappy that you've got teams in Europe in European finals? Like, is that something you're upset about? Like, why don't you make life easier for your clubs that are all? You have a club in every single final of Europe's competitions, and instead of making life easier for them, giving them the best chance to win that competition, you're just doing the opposite, and it's astonishing to me. It really is. The mind boggles. But, like you said, it's a Serie A. It is what it is. But no, look, it's. I think from Inter's perspective, I'm not really fussed. I
thought as a dress rehearsal, even though it was the backups, I thought Inter defended Napoli very, very comfortably. Agreed. Until the Anguissa goal.
Exactly.
Then after that, to be fair, regardless of the equaliser from Lukaku, I thought Napoli did create a lot of opportunities after that. I thought it was harsh, the goal they had disallowed. There was also another chance that Raspadori had where he overran it. And then obviously they did score their third goal at the end as well. I thought Napoli did create a lot of chances after the Anguissa goal, but up until the Anguissa goal, I thought Inter defended really comfortably.
Agreed.
And I thought that Napoli was kind of like the same criticisms that I've had of Napoli for the last couple of months, in that they've just become too predictable. My thinking of what I was going to say on this pod today was that do Napoli even have to start thinking about, you know, you know, our team started to find out Napoli a little bit.
Which is why I think,
yeah.
which I think ties together with what we were speaking about in the previous segment about Spalletti leaving. And I think De Laurentiis knows this, and I think he sees this. He is very intelligent. He is very bombastic, and he's very, larger than life character and has very narcissistic traits, but he's also not stupid, and he's got his finger on the pulse, and he's very proactive. So I think he sees that. I think he sees the limitations, and he sees a team that is becoming a little bit too predictable, and that I think he wants to
shake things up a little bit.
You want to shake things up a little bit, and I think the Italiano thing, or De Zerbi, I strongly don't believe in Italiano. I think he wants someone with a bigger, with a little bit more ring to his name. But I mean, it depends. I mean, if Italiano goes up and ends up winning the Conference League, who knows what can happen? Then he's got a trophy.
Absolutely. In his first ever season in European football, and that's impressive. Well, let's talk about that then. You've given us a nice segue there. So the Coppa Italia final is on Wednesday. Inter versus Fiorentina. Now, both teams, both Inter and Fiorentina, basically rested their teams at the weekend. So both teams will come into this game really fresh. I mean, I think it's a fascinating final because it's, we know what we're going to get from Fiorentina. They are, the most aggressive team in Serie A in terms of, their pressing and their defensive line and just the way that they try to dominate the game, with possession and everything. But obviously, we know because of that aggression, they do leave themselves open. There have been at times this season where they've actually improved a lot defensively, but then they also go through little periods. We've seen it in the last two rounds in Europe where they've almost thrown away those ties with bad defending. So I think it is fascinating from that point of view. We're going to probably see Fiorentina take it to Inter, but then Inter are going to be picking their moments when to attack. And I mean, I think I'm really looking forward to this final. I think it's going to be a really great game.
I agree. I think so as well. And I think that we will see, and I think we'll see a very open game. I think Fiorentina, if you remember the first encounter between Fiorentina and Inter, I think Inter won 4-3 at the death with Mkhitaryan scoring the winner. I think that's the kind of crazy game we're going to see. Because Fiorentina
force those kind of games, I think. Even if you say to yourself, right, we're going to try and keep it tight because we don't want to be too open because we know what Fiorentina can do. But they force you to play that game because they go one-on-one and they overload and they, you know what I mean? They force you into those kind of matches and you kind of can't help it. So that's why I think it will be a really good game. But I mean, how important is this final ahead of the other European final? Because obviously both teams are in two finals, and from a psychological point of view, it's important. But winning this final will give a huge boost to the other final. But I think there's a real chance here that this could be an all or nothing, in the sense that whoever loses this final really risks winning nothing this season. Certainly from Inter's point of view, more so than Fiorentina, because I think they've got a better chance of beating West Ham than Inter do Man City, of course. But if you lose this final, you could end up winning nothing this season. I know Inter won the Super Coppa, but in terms of actual cup competition.
No, that's true. It could end up that way, but I don't think it will. Especially for Fiorentina, I really think Fiorentina have a big chance against David Moyes' West Ham. I really do. I give them a big chance there. It's going to be a clash of completely different ideologies. I just hope that Fiorentina turn up to this game switched on, and that Italiano understands that he's kind of auditioning for bigger and better things here. If he turns up switched on defensively, I'm not saying change your identity. I'm saying realize that it's a European Cup final. It's the first since the 90s for Fiorentina. They have a chance to win their first European trophy since 1961. This is important for Fiorentina. Fiorentina are now the first team in history to have been in the final of every single one of UEFA's competitions. They've been in the final of the European Cup Champions League. They've been in the final of the UEFA Cup Europa League, the Cup Winners' Cup, which they won in 61, and now also the Conference League. And I really, really hope Fiorentina can win that. As for the Coppa Italia, I think that Simone has shown that he knows he's got the team in a right place mentally, in a headspace. His headspace, like the players are mentally switched on and they're in a good place, and they're all kind of accepted that there's going to be rotations and it's going to be, you know, some games we defend deep and we risk minimize. Other games we go for it. They know how to play in different ways, and everyone's behind that. Everyone's rallying behind that. They've bought into the idea. I saw something today that made me really happy, and that is that he's going to play pretty much the same lineup as against Milan, except for Handanovic in goal, which we knew was going to happen because that's his last game as captain and blah, blah, blah. So that he's hoping that Handanovic actually turns up for that game and doesn't cost Inter a title. But more importantly, that I'm going to be able to see my dream midfield of Brozovic, Barella, Çalhanoğlu. That's what I'm going to see. I would have loved to have seen Lukaku as well, but I think he's saving that for the Champions League final. Lula.
Well, I think he's shown his cards there because Lukaku played at the weekend.
Yeah,
didn't he?
No, for sure. So it's going to be,
which is an interesting decision because actually nobody has scored more goals in Serie A since April than Lukaku.
Yeah,
he's on such great form. I mean, he's got 8 goals and 5 assists in all competitions since the start of April. It's 13 goal contributions, 6 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 Serie A games. I mean, Lukaku's finishing the season so strongly that you wonder whether he should start this game. But at the end of the day, I think Inzaghi's looking at the bigger picture and he wants to make sure everybody's always fit every game and sharp and in good condition. And it's worked in this recent couple of months. So why change that now? But yeah, I think the midfield battle is going to be interesting in this final. We know how well Inter's midfield is playing, but I think that's definitely Fiorentina's strong point is their midfield. We know about Amrabat, but even off the bench, they've got good options off the bench. For Fiorentina, when you can bring on players like Castrovilli and you've got Mandragora and Bonaventura's having a really, really good year as well. I mean, there is a lot of quality there, and there's lots of goals throughout the team in this Fiorentina team, which is also what I think is really, really good about them because they're not just relying on their attackers to score, which I think is really important because I think apart from Nico Gonzalez, I still think that they really need to upgrade there in attack, but they get goals from everywhere. Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be
a really good game. I love what they've done with the Coppa Italia. I love that they have it. I wish they would kind of have it at the end of the season, but I do understand that this would be like the game to end the season kind of thing. But I do understand why they've pushed it because of the season looking like it is. I mean, we're already going to be in the 10th of June wanting to play the Champions League final. It's a very long season. So I get what they do, but I do love that they have a one-off final. It's in Rome Stadio Olimpico. It's going to be packed to the rafters. Both sets of fans are going to fill both curve. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic spectacle. And I'm really looking forward to it. And good luck to both teams. I obviously hope Inter win, but I just hope that we don't have any refereeing controversies. This is why I'm hoping for Doveri because he keeps a consistent level. He allows physical football, he allows challenges. He keeps a high, consistent physical level. I hope the VAR is switched on. I hope everyone is switched on. Like Mourinho always says, I want, his mentality when he was at Inter the last time.
And all the cameras are working as well.
Yeah, all the cameras are working. No controversies. Yeah. I want a good, may the best team win. That this is what we want. We don't want any mistakes. We don't want any controversy. We want the best team to win. So good luck to both sets of fans.
Yeah, just a quick one on Europe because like you said, 3 teams, Italian teams in the final: Inter versus Man City, the Champions League final; Roma versus Sevilla in the Europa League final; and Fiorentina versus West Ham in the Conference League final. If you had to rank in order, best chance to worst chance of the Italian team winning the final, how would you rank them?
Best chance Roma, second best chance Fiorentina, worst chance Inter.
I'm agreed as well. I agree with that.
Because Roma, Mourinho doesn't lose finals. That's just not how he rolls. He's going to turn up to that game. And Sevilla are a side that Allegri showed that you can hurt them if you play in a certain way. This is not the Sevilla of a few years ago. I do think they're a little bit weaker. than they have been.
I'll be honest. We're going to talk about Juventus. I don't rate Sevilla at all. Not at all. Do not rate them at all.
Yeah, I know.
At all. So I think they've got a good job. But then, obviously Roma have a lot of problems with injuries. So that's going to be important. We need to hope that their injury situation improves a bit. That the players that are just returning from injury, like Chris Smalling and Dybala, that they get back to fitness, full fitness. We can't have a Rafael Leao versus Inter or Victor Osimhen versus Milan situation. Is a big difference between...
And Dybala. They need Dybala and Tammy.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I said, Dybala. They need Dybala. He needs... Because he's been struggling for well over a month now.
I don't think we're going to see Dybala in the league until that game, because
he needs to get some minutes in him. He needs to get some minutes in him as well.
Yeah,
we can't just have him turn up for the match and then how long is he going to be able to play? If he,
you never know with Mourinho. Like he's the witch doctor when in these situations. Like if there's ever a coach I don't want to go up against in these situations, it is that man. He loves it. He knows what it takes.
Dr. Needles, as he called it. Yeah. Doctor at Chelsea.
I mean, he's just, the way that you can just tell how much he loves and thrives in these situations. It's like he literally stands there with that grin on his face. He's loving every second of this. And they were fantastic defensively against Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, they were just absolutely
you predicted before the game it would be Brexit ball on
steroids.
On steroids with Bojo and...
Nigel Farage ball. Like
Nigel Farage and the other guy that didn't want to get married to any children, any wives, because he didn't want to pay...
What's his name? Who I think sounds... Jacob Rees-Mogg, who sounds like a Bond villain. Jacob Rees-Mogg, yeah. No, that's... he literally did. I mean, what was it? They didn't have a shot on goal. They had an XG of 0.03. Like, 20%.
But to be fair, though, Leverkusen didn't create anything.
Nothing.
They had nothing.
Literally
nothing. Yeah, just a post from Diaby, which wasn't a clear chance anyway.
Now, Roma were really sound that game, and Pellegrini was... And that this kid, Bove, what a story that's turning into. At Roma. I mean, it's so cool. It's typical Roma, isn't it, to have this local kid kind of explode in a decisive
I have
situation.
to call it. I predicted that. I watched him in pre-season 2 years ago now, and I said
Nice
back then, I remember saying it on the pod. I said it on the pod at the time. Watch out for this guy Bobby. I like the look of him. And this was 2 years ago, just playing in pre-season matches. I mean, we'll see how good. I'm not saying he's going to become a
but he's
player,
been like the way he stepped up,
and even played at right wing back as well.
Yeah, no, the way he stepped up in the Europa League, scoring decisive goals. I mean, he scored the goal that took them to the final, essentially.
He did,
so it's really cool to see. No, I hope Chris Smalling is back. I don't know what Jose Mourinho has done with Gianluca Mancini, but whatever it is, keep going, because he has completely gotten... He's got Mancini in a mental balance. I've never seen him this composed and calm and controlled, and he's not doing stupid things. He's still going to be Mancini, but it's like he stays on the right side of the line and the law and all that stuff, and it's going. Yeah, no, I'm really impressed.
He's got his meds right.
I didn't want to say it, but you had to. Yes, he's got the concentration of the meds right, Mourinho. Whatever he's got cooking in his medicine cabinet, he's got the concentration of everything right.
Trailer,
he's sorted Mancini out mentally, because Mancini, look, we always known there was a player there. The problem has been that he's got no impulse control, but now he has, and he's acting like a leader. And with Chris Smalling next to him, they are so good defensively. And Ibanez as well, got to give credit to him. Look, in this game, he didn't do anything stupid. He was actually really, really good.
What is going on with Nima? He's praising Mancini. He's praising
Ibanez. No, look, Ibanez. I'm just being...
What is going on today?
I'm not. I've never criticized... Look, it's about being honest about what you see. And when they have been doing great, and so they deserve praise. I mean, it doesn't change anything. It's not like I'm saying that Gianluca Mancini is the next Paolo Maldini of Italian football. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Vincenzo Italiano is the new Arrigo Sacchi or anything crazy like that. I'm just giving them cred for what they're doing. I think they're doing really good. And Ibanez was very good against Leverkusen. He really, really was. He made mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes. But it wasn't the kind of Ibanez level mistakes that we've seen that we have us hiding behind a pillow with cringe. He actually has been really, really good. But no, I really rate Roma's chances against City.
Yeah, and Fiorentina as well. Well done to them for turning that round against Basel, which you called as well. You did call it. You said they would turn around. They're great away from home.
They are. Away from home,
the better team. I mean, there was so much the better team. It would have just been a travesty.
But we also have to talk about that. I haven't seen any updates. So if anyone knows, I've not seen what happened. That poor Fiorentina fan who needed medical assistance in the middle of that, and the game was stopped. I haven't seen anything. If that fan is okay now, so if anyone knows anything, please let us know. I hope for him and his sake, his or her sake, that they have recovered fully, because no one should go to football and not come back home.
No, yeah, best wishes to them. I mean, I guess if there's one good thing about if it happens in a football match, you've got the meds, you've got the team.
Yeah, they were there very quickly.
You have a cardiac arrest anywhere else, and your chances, you're done for, unless you've got an issue.
No, they were very quickly there. Respect to first responders and medical responders who always keep everyone safe. God bless you all.
Yeah. Okay, right. Milan, not too much to talk about in this game. They thrashed Sampdoria 5-1, and they respond to the defeat against Inter. First hat-trick for Milan for Giroud. So it's a welcome return for him, because I think he only had 4 goals in 2023 up until that game. So he's almost reached that number all in one game. Brahim Diaz was really, really good. I have to single out, though, the Diaz goal, which was an amazing team move. Amazing. We were talking about patterns of play last week, about how Pioli is almost another Allegri. A lot of fans have been saying that he's like Allegri, that they don't have any patterns of play anymore, and it's just Rafael Leao and Inshallah. Well, this was one of the team goals of the season. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's Sampdoria, and positionally they were all over the place and everything, but have a look at the passes they put together for Brahim Diaz, the interchange, the third man runs, the pass, one touch move. I mean, it was absolutely magnificent. I mean, what a goal! What a goal that was. So that was the highlight of the match. That was for me absolutely. It was art watching that goal. And also we have to say Quagliarella, 40 years old, scoring his first goal of the season, and for the 18th season in a row. So that was absolutely fantastic as well. But yeah, from Milan's point of view, we're going to talk about Juventus in a bit. But I mean, they're going to be fine. They should be fine for top 4. We'll see how much Juventus get. What the points penalty is, but I think it's more about Milan watching out for Atalanta now, and making sure that Atalanta don't overtake them. Or Roma, if Roma managed to win their last 3 games, which I don't see happening, because they're going to rest everyone for the Europa League final.
No. Mourinho's a shark that has sensed blood in the water to win another European trophy. Yeah. There is nothing that will, he's happy. He doesn't have to care about the league. And he knows that if he wins that trophy, he will have become, he will have written history at Roma. 2 years, 2 European trophies, Roma back in the Champions League, job done.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You can't possibly try to distract him with, I don't know, who they've got left. Monza, or what have they got left to play?
They don't have the hardest run. They got Fiorentina next weekend, but Fiorentina are going to play all their backups
and so
as well.
Are Roma. So are Roma.
It's going to be like a reserve game.
It's essentially going to be a friendly, isn't it?
Yeah.
No. Look,
I do want to ask you one question about Milan, though. Brahim Diaz, because there are negotiations going on at the moment, like what to do with him next season, because his loan runs out with Real Madrid. What do you think Milan should do here?
They have an option, I know, to buy him. He's been there for.
Do they have an option? I thought it's in Real Madrid's hands. My understanding is it's in Real Madrid's hands.
No, from what I understand, when it was that they had an option. I looked this up the other day, and it was a first. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 1-year loan, then a 2-year loan with an option. And that loan expires.
I think Real Madrid have a counter option, though. I'm pretty sure.
That might be true. I don't know about that. I didn't look into that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Real Madrid have power here. But I think that, realistically, there's no place for him in this Real Madrid team.
What is he going to do?
Where's he going to play? So unless Real Madrid bring him back and think, right, we can sell him for more money than Milan can offer us. But then again, the two clubs have a really good relationship. Yeah. So I think a deal. I think if Milan wanted him, I think a deal probably could be done. It's just whether they would pay the money that that Real Madrid would ask for. But the question is, should Milan be spending whatever money it costs from their budget? We don't know what their budget's going to be. I mean, it hasn't been much under the new owners. What do you think? Do you think Milan should be looking to buy him, or do you think they should be moving on?
Yes. No, I think he has shown that he is good. He's functionable in this Milan side. Whether or not is as a starter or rotation player, I think Milan should have players that are at his level or higher, because that's Milan. I don't think they should have players like Junior Messias or Alexis Salamakers in the squad. I think they should have, or Divock Origi. I think they should have better players. But Brahim Diaz has certainly shown that he is a serviceable player, that he works in this system, that he works at Milan. He seems very, very well adjusted and integrated into the squad. No, I think Milan should keep him. I really do. The problem is, though, how much money he will cost to if they can agree on some deal there. But I hope he stays. I really do, because the alternative is for Milan to go out on the market and find another player, young, cheap, and all that, and risk another De Ketelaere situation.
Yeah,
I think
they know what they're going to get from Brahim Diaz. Don't they?
They do, and I think it
might not be enough as a starting player or to take them to the next level, but they know what they're going to get. But again, I think the key thing here is how much is the cost. That's the key thing. I mean, if Madrid.
Isn't it around 15-20 million, though? I've seen some reports on that he will cost 20 million.
Well, if it's 15 to 20 million, then I think that's decent. If we're talking 30 million, then you're thinking, So I think the money, I think the cost is what comes down to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I hope Milan can find a way to keep him. And let's remember, Milan's Champions League run, between prize money, bonuses, all that stuff, they've made quite a bit, and that's money that's allowed them to extend, of course, Rafael Leao's contract. Which at least according to reports is done, but it's not been official yet. At least not when we're recording this. But it looks like that's done, and I think they will look to keep Brahim Diaz and then try to strengthen those areas of the pitch where they need strengthening, and try to offload players that shouldn't be there. So we'll see. I mean, I hope for Milan's sake that they can invest properly and strengthen the team this summer. I really, really hope so, because look, the Serie A needs but the Serie A needs a strong Milan. Like we need a strong Milan, we need a strong Inter, we need a strong Juve, we need a strong Roma, Lazio, Napoli. The Serie A has never been more exciting as a result of it. So I hope they all can improve, and I'm really looking forward to a really evenly balanced next season, where you can't, I hope we're sitting here at the end of August or at beginning of September after the Mercato, doing our Serie A predictions and finding it so incredibly difficult to say who's going to win the Serie A.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but yeah, it will definitely, from Milan's point of view, it will depend on what they do this summer.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So one thing you really wanted to discuss is and this relates to Milan, is about the ultras and the Curva that we've seen at various clubs in recent weeks. We obviously saw it in Milan when after the game that they lost to, was it Spezia, when they went over. They went over to the Curva, to the Milan section of Milan fans and ultras, and the head ultra gave a speech to them, and they basically stood there, listened, and nodded their heads to him. But we've seen it in other issues. We saw it last week where Federico Di Marco was celebrating Inter's win over Milan, and with a kind of an anti-Milan song or banter, and then he was forced to apologise because he got threats. But we've seen it a lot in recent games.
I just want to. This isn't about Milan's ultras. This is about ultras. Period. All of them, as a phenomenon, as a force in society, where they create these where they have invented these parallel, essentially legal systems of what is acceptable and not acceptable. Parallel honor codex on what is okay and not okay. where they are the judge, jury, and executioner in every case, and everyone just has to abide. And we've seen this time, week in, week out, all through all levels of Italian football. You know, whether it's Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis in that bizarre photo next to these guys with neck tattoos before they won the Scudetto, after the Champions League, or before the Champions League's return leg, where, you know, we covered it on the pod about how they ended up in fistfights with other Napoli fans who wanted to support their team, which is their right to do so, because they were angry at whatever perceived, you know, wrong that De Laurentiis had done to them. What happened to Joe Tacopina and Spal the other week, who almost ended up in a fist fight with them. He had a press conference where he publicly spoke about this, explaining the situation. Whether it's Inter's Curva emptying the entire section of the stadium because one of their former leaders died as a result of being shot on the street. A man who was in and out of jail his entire life for kidnapping, drug trafficking, and other various assortments of crime and criminal activities. Whether it's Juventus Curva being connected to organized crime and Andrea Agnelli doing his absolute best to throw these people out. Whether it's Claudio Lotito when he bought the club, telling these people that no, the revenue from Lazio's shirts, official shirts, go to Lazio, not to you. And them absolutely hating him as a result of it. It's a complex issue. Yes, they produce fantastic choreographies or tifos. They produce fantastic atmosphere at the stadiums. But there is a sense of entitlement. There's a sense of where the clubs belongs to us, not you, and they are more fans and have more right to the club than any other fan ever. And they, let's be honest, they are not the most, generally speaking, they are not the most law-abiding citizens on earth. And I'm talking about the ultras groups now, the leaders of the ultras groups. I'm not talking people who go and cheer and sing songs. No, those are fans. I'm talking about the people who head these organizations. And just that idea, organizations, do you think they are registered with some sort of authority and have democratic elections as to who's the president and that their finances are open? I mean, what are we talking? We're not, that's not who they are. And they have their own honor codexes and they make their money in variously dodgy ways. There's been so much reporting done on this and who they are. And it disgusts me. It absolutely disgusts me when people who don't live in Italy, journalists, especially journalism or people in the media in Sweden, from Sweden to Australia to UK to the United States, who don't know that these people are a scourge, they are criminal elements who parasite off of the very thing they love, and that they idolize them and faff about them, about how fantastic they are because they wave flags and they sing songs and they do choreographies and don't even bother to show the other side of it, the criminal elements of it, and don't understand that every person you meet, well over 90% of people you meet of all social classes in Italy, despise these people because they have to live with these people. And everyone will tell you the same thing, no matter what their political belief is, no matter what social class they belong to. Every person you meet in Italy will tell you that they are fed up of these people who think that they own and they can do with whatever they want with impunity, and no one can get near them. And it's disgusting and it's exhausting. And I think it's, we're talking about essentially what could be, if this happened in the United States, the FBI would describe these people as domestic terrorists. That would be the accurate description legally in the UK and in Sweden as well, in other countries as well. So stop trying to romanticize these people. See them for what they are. This is not they are not run by democratic organizations. They have made themselves the leaders. They rule by brute force, and they are essentially, the heads of them are criminals. Many of them,
and they're not supporters either. This is not about supporting the team. It's simply about power and control.
Power and money.
Power, control, and money.
That's what it's all about. And kudos to anyone and everyone who stands up to them. You know, more power.
And if there's one thing that we can praise Andrea Agnelli for in recent years,
that's what I mean.
There's not many things to praise him about in recent years. He's got pretty much everything wrong. But the one thing that he did get right was trying to stand up to these guys. And
kudos to Agnelli. Kudos to Joe Tacopina. But
look at the consequences. Look at the consequences that Agnelli or Juventus had for that. They basically it resulted in an empty Juve, large sections of an empty Juve stadium for years. I know in more recent times that's also been because of because of other stuff and because of the football being terrible and all that stuff. But before that happened,
But the problem is that they can't do anything about it because there is no will from the Italian government to prosecute them. There is no will. Yeah. There is no political will to do anything about it, at least up until now. I think that's changing because they, for whatever reason, without going into the politics of it, they're no longer of use to those in power who they once were. And as such, this is also hindering Italian football to grow. Look, the thing that drives me the most crazy about this is when this is being demonstrated and portrayed in non-Italian media as people power. This is anything but people and community power. This is not that. This is brute force. And people who parasite off of the thing they claim they love, and it's only about money and power. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a business. It's a business for them, because they think that they own the rights to selling tickets, to selling merchandise, to everything that's associated with that. And
it's exhausting to see. I think it's an embarrassment to see Italian football in this state, and the fact that the Ultras once again made it about them. And I'm not taking sides between Inter or Milan's Ultras because I think they're both as cringy. And the whole thing is just embarrassing.
Yeah. No, and they shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, look at the Napoli. Look at Napoli when they sabotaged their own Champions League campaign because
they don't care about the clubs. This is exactly. Thank you for saying that. They don't care about the clubs. They care about themselves, preserving their own power.
No, absolutely. And that's why I went berserk about what happened, because the Napoli Ultras didn't care. They cared about Napoli, about the team and about the success of the club, even if they had a valid point about ticket prices and all the other grievances that they had against De Laurentiis, some of which are probably fair. They wouldn't have done it when they did it and how they done it, because that was only going to damage the club. So, at the end of the day, it was about them. And, But yeah, we've been here before. We've discussed this before, and I'm sure we'll discuss it again because this is Italy. Also, this is Ciro Immobile doing another of his, according to Udinese, a blatant dive to win Lazio the game against Udinese. What did you think of that incident? Catenaccio?
Ciro Immobile's Catenaccio. Joe Cole, bless your heart. Look, it's he dived. I mean, there was contact. Let's not, but of course he made the most of that, didn't he? What do you reckon?
I think if there was contact, I think the contact was initiated by Immobile. I mean, it's clear. I mean, the defender is Massina, isn't it? I mean, he's there. He stands upright, and puts his hands in the air, and Immobile moves towards him. And even then, like you said, the contact is very, very light. I mean, it's not a penalty. No, I mean,
the thing here's the thing. If having looked at it now again whilst we're recording this, the referee sees this from behind, right? And from behind, it looks like a penalty. And he says he was tripped in the area. Now, for VAR to overturn that, the videos have to show that there was no contact for it to be a clear and obvious error. Only the video doesn't show that, so they can't they can't call him back and say, you have to look at this again, and so on and so forth.
But surely, what contact is there?
There is contact.
I mean, if the contact is initiated by Immobile...
Well, that's the thing, though. That's the thing. I don't think it is. Because if you look at the video, like, he takes the ball, he goes, like, he stands and he's trying to go past him, and what's his name? Is it Massina who stands still? Or
yes,
no, not Massina. Yeah. He stands still, and Immobile is trying to go past him. I think it's a dive. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that I think it's impossible for the referee to see that, and the VAR simply can't intervene in that situation. It's not allowed to intervene because what the referee saw is supported. It's his call. He's made an instant call. The referee has seen this. He thinks it's a penalty. He's not mistaken in what he's seen, and so it doesn't fall within a clear and obvious error. Now, had there been absolutely no contact whatsoever, then it becomes kind of more a reviewable by VAR situation. But I do agree that I look. This is like you said. It's Ciro Immobile's Catenaccio. it's one of those furbo that you see in Italian football, and VAR. This is why I like VAR, and I think we should empower VAR. I think we should, because to me that's a clear dive, and I don't think that warrants a penalty. But the rules as they are written, you can't really complain. The mistake is by the original, but is to give the penalty to begin with. No doubt. But it's Ciro's smart. Ciro's smart. He does what Italian strikers.
I'm watching it again now.
Yeah,
he's actually initiated two contacts here. One with his left knee to the left knee first. He's moved his left knee into Massina's left knee, and then after that, while he's down on the floor, he then kicks Massina's shin with Immobile's left foot. So he's actually initiated two bits of contact, which is quite funny. But I mean, overall, listen, we don't know how this game would have gone if this penalty hadn't been given and scored. But I think overall, Lazio were the much better team and deserved to win. Certainly in the second half, they were already dominating and they were really starting to put a lot of pressure on Udinese. But it definitely Udinese weren't happy. What is for certain is that Lazio definitely now have top four in the bag. 2 games left. They are 4 points ahead of Milan. And obviously, Juventus are going to get the points penalty, which will make they won't be able to reach Lazio after that anyway. So it's all irrelevant. But Lazio will be in the Champions League next season. So as a season as a whole, it's definitely a great achievement for them. Talking of Juventus, before we get on to the legal situation. It is going to be another trophyless season for Juve. The second season in a row under Allegri since he returned. It's the first time in 35 years that a Juventus manager goes 2 seasons in a row trophyless. So that's another negative record for Allegri in a spell of negative record after negative record. Juventus. We're recording this before Juventus play against Empoli. So this is kind of in response to the Sevilla game. Now, I think for any Juventus fan, I think the defeat to Sevilla was very frustrating because I think in terms of chances, Juventus created 5 clear chances up until and including the goal that they scored to go 1-0 up. And if you review the game as a whole, Sevilla didn't create a single clear chance in the entire game. The chances that Sevilla had and the goals that they scored, they actually came from low percentage opportunities. The Suso goal was a shot from outside the area, which was just a rocket of a shot. The header that they scored from, that wasn't really a high percentage opportunity. It was a decent chance at most. And then when the amazing saves that Szczesny made, he made 2 miracle saves in the game, Szczesny. They come from low percentage opportunities. The only time in the game really where Juventus were lucky was they should have conceded a penalty. It was a clear penalty against Cuadrado. So that's the only time in the game Juventus really were lucky. But the problem, and this is what, if we're talking specifically about this game, the problem that Juventus had in this game was the same problem we always have with Allegri. They go 1-0 up, and instead of taking control of the game, keeping the ball, pushing for a second goal, immediately the mentality and the attitude is to take a step back and just try and hold on to that 1-0. And it invites pressure, which invites mistakes like the one that Chiesa made. Chiesa was terrible when he came on, by the way. And Sevilla turns around the tie, and Juventus missed the, if we're looking at it from a historical point of view, Juventus missed the best opportunity they're ever going to get to win a first European trophy in it's approaching 30 years now, 1996 and 97 season, when they won the European UEFA Super Cup. In 96 they won the Champions League. Approaching 30 years since they won a European trophy. And I think it's just a huge missed opportunity because this is an average Sevilla team at best. They're mid-table in La Liga. They're not a good team. They really are not a good team. And even Juventus playing the way they did created so many chances in this game. From looking specifically at this game, very, very frustrating. But looking in terms of Allegri's future and looking into the future of Juve, the exit should mean, if there was ever any doubt now, if there were ever any competent people in charge of Juventus, it should mean the end of Allegri, because he's just been an unmitigated disaster in every possible way these 2 years, and this is why I was against his appointment, and it's why I've said since day one that his football is outdated and it can't succeed with his football at this level. And Juventus have thrown away 2 years with Allegri while paying him an astronomical salary, 36 million net over 4 years. And he is now, Juventus just, it's too late now, but they need to just realise that he's a sunk cost now. And those who still somehow are so brainwashed into saying, but it costs too much to sack him, they just have to accept that money is gone now. It's gone. It's a sunk cost in economic terms, and they can only lose more by keeping him. Accept that money is lost, hire someone else to build him. And as we're going to discuss in a minute, Juventus, they're not going to be in the Champions League next season because they're going to get a points penalty. They probably won't even be in Europe next season because UEFA, Sheffield are probably going to ban them from Europe. So next season should be used, and these 2 seasons that are still left in Allegri's contract should be used for building. They need to try and use, if there's any positive, try and use this opportunity of all this, the horror that's going to come in the next days, to try and build in the next year, 2 years. Having someone like Allegri, who is not, a builder, he's someone who wants to win straight away, is, it should be obvious now. But the frustrating thing is that my understanding is, speaking to those people that I know at Juventus, is that Juventus still have the full trust in Allegri. The people that are at Juventus now, Giuntoli, if he comes in as sporting director, doesn't believe that Allegri is right, but we don't know whether, even if he does come in, whether he'll have the power to remove Allegri. And the final point I want to make is we saw again with the Szczesny versus Allegri argument, which is really embarrassing, I think, public argument. I thought Allegri's response to what Szczesny's just honest opinion at the end of the game, where Szczesny was praised by a journalist for his performance because he made 2 fantastic saves in that Sevilla game. One of them was an absolute world-class miracle in that game when he kind of, from the first half, from a Campus's header, where he kind of dragged it from behind the line. It was an amazing save. And the journalist said, you must be happy with your performance. And Szczesny just said, really quite harmlessly, actually.
No, that's not. If come on, he said that if I'm making a lot of saves, it's because the team isn't playing well.
Well, I think that's pretty fair, isn't it? Pretty harmless, is it not? Why is that a slight on Allegri?
That is a slight on his teammates, his
what he said, Szczesny, is if I'm making a lot of saves, that's not a good thing because that means the team hasn't played well.
Which is obvious. Look, no, it's not obvious. You don't talk like that. He did that on purpose to throw shade on Allegri, and Allegri responded accordingly. Can you imagine if Mike Mignon and Onana and anyone else had said that?
Well, regardless, you know what? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter who is to blame. What matters is that this is just another example of what I said. What I said back in September, October, that the dressing room is not with Allegri, and here is another.
That's another discussion, and here is another
figure. That clearly there's problems there. I mean, Allegri said he doesn't speak doesn't speak
That made
Italian.
me laugh.
I mean,
maybe he didn't. Maybe because he's not a native Italian speaker, he misspoke. I love Allegri. I love him. Oh my God, it made me laugh so much when I read that. It's just,
of course
oh my God. Look, I think it's
on.
a shame that Juve didn't reach the final of the Europa League, because I was really looking forward to an all-Italian final, and I think Juve were a little bit unlucky, and I think they probably should have had a penalty as well in the first leg, especially. It is what it is. It's not been Juventus season at all, but I think they should have. I'm disappointed that they didn't go through. I expected them to go through, and I think they had every chance to go through. And I'm a little bit disappointed in Allegri not being able to maneuver this properly. That I'm with you on. I firmly believe that someone with Allegri's experience, someone with Allegri's expertise, should have been able to handle the situation better than he did in the in-game management. Meaning, and I'm disappointed. I think this is a European League final buttate for no reason.
When you think that Manchester United went out, Arsenal went out, Barcelona went out. I mean, the three best teams, the three strongest teams in the competition, went out, and
this is and the fact that Lamela and Suso are the ones who
I know.
It's just
I know two rejects
from Roma. Well, not from Roma, but from
Tottenham. One Tottenham flop and one Milan flop.
That's not a good look. I'm disappointed.
And Lamela scored a header. When's Lamela ever scored headers?
I was disappointed in Allegri. I got to be honest. I was disappointed that he didn't handle this better.
I mean, they did. Listen, don't get me wrong. Juventus created so many huge chances.
Yeah.
The issue is, though, I think the point is the mentality thing. Like, Juventus had those 5 huge chances, but I mean, if Juventus had scored one of the first chances in the first half to go 1-0 up, it's the same. We probably couldn't expect Juventus' mentality to be the same as when they went 1-0 up in the second half, that they would then the mentality shifts to try and hold on. Not that they were super attacking, but before that, but you saw it was so noticeable that they took steps back to try and hold on to the lead, and that's just a microcosm of this outdated style of thinking and attitude and football that Allegri, that I've been crying about for 2 years, and it's cost them in this game. People can look at the overall number of chances. The point is that they had all those chances before that they scored, and then it was too late. Sevilla turned it around, and Chiesa was terrible in this game, and it was sad actually. It was really sad watching Chiesa. Both goals. The first goal, he gave the ball away. The second goal, he missed a chance, and Sevilla went straight up the other end and scored. Then he missed a big chance to equalise as well. It's actually very, very sad to see what's happened to Chiesa under Allegri. And that's another reason. It's another reason to get rid of Allegri.
The Juve have important decisions to make, and I'm just expressing my feeling here. Which leads us nicely into the next.
Are you Allegri out though? I want to get an answer from you now.
No, absolutely not.
Of course you're not.
No, because I think he's done.
Of course you're not. You want 4 trophyless seasons.
No, I don't.
Why stop at 2?
No, look, I've told you what I want. I want Roberto De Zerbi to come and spectacularly blow up in your face. Like that's what I want. If you ask me what I want Roberto De Zerbi now at Juve, and I want to watch him completely spectacularly fail in front of your face, because I know he will. He's not ready today to do it. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Because Allegri's definitely ready, isn't he? With his 2
he has. I mean, look at what he's had to deal with.
Breaking record after record in 2 years.
Well, for Juventus, yeah, but he still his semi-final is in a European competition is not a disaster. He's gotten he got you to a final in the Coppa Italia last year. He's a semi-final this year. You would have probably gone through to the final of the Coppa Italia if Bremer hadn't done what he'd done. I think Juventus win that tie. If you look at the Serie A as well, Juventus are on points. I'm
drowning, Nima, in all these achievements and this success. Don't stop,
but
please.
but this is the thing. You need to
send me a life jacket.
No, but I'm not. This cacophony, like this ridiculous, this entitlement that Juve should win every year, and if they don't, it's like, that's like the natural order of things. It's not like that. You're at the end of a very successful historic cycle. Allegri's been brought in to try to go back to what
so
it
is
was.
Allegri right for the build? Even if you keep Allegri, is he right then for the rebuilding of Juve with players?
I don't
like
know
Chiesa,
what's going to happen.
like Allegri, like
Here's
Chiesa, like Vlahovic.
Yeah, but listen. This is the job of the sporting director, of which you have none. You need to first sort that out, and then sit down and see, is this relationship able to be mended? If not, you get rid of the manager.
No, I'm not talking about relationships. I'm talking about their actual getting them to play well and improving them. And
I think Allegri can do that. Of course, it can. I mean, if we disregard all the nonsense on the pitch and all the personal relationships and just talk, do I think Max Allegri can tactically get Juventus to start competing for the Scudetto, start playing football like he did before and win titles? Yes, I do. Of course, I think that. Okay. But I think there are many other factors involved here. I mean, how deteriorated is that relationship between him and Vlahovic, him and Chiesa, him and all these other guys? That's and will the next sporting director, when he or she steps in, are they able to handle that? You know, these are really, really serious questions that you will need to answer.
Okay.
That's not something I can answer.
There's no change in an Allegri disciple, so I give up. I give up with
you, as if you. I could say the same to you. It doesn't matter what Allegri does. You literally find a way to criticize him. It doesn't matter what he does. You're always going to criticize him, aren't you? I mean, it is.
Well, of course, I'm going to criticize him if he's been there for 2 years. He's won nothing in 2 years, which is
haven't been good enough to win.
Historical record for 35 years.
Juventus aren't good enough to win these 2 last years. It's as simple as that. I'm sorry, but that's just something you're going to have to accept. Juve are not good enough to win in the Serie A these last 2 years. They just weren't.
They have an attack of Chiesa, Di Maria, and Vlahovic, and all the other.
Chiesa was injured for most part of these 2 years. Paul Pogba has been more injured than.
I love the excuses.
Excuse? It's a fact.
Move on. Let's move on.
It's a fact.
It's excuse after excuse with Allegri disciples. I mean,
so it's Allegri's fault that Paul Pogba is finished, physically finished.
It's Allegri's fault that Juventus have won nothing for 2 years, which is the only Juventus manager in 35 years to do that. So, I mean, that says it all. That's historic record, Nima. Yeah. That's a historic record. 2 years with no trophies. 2 years.
My God. Oh, no trophies for 2 years.
Yeah, 35 years. This is Juventus, Nima.
This is Juventus. And
this is
Juventus,
not Tottenham.
Yeah, you can't compare to Tottenham with Juve. Milan and Inter are not. Milan and Inter aren't Tottenham either, and they went trophyless for a decade as well because they had bad organization and squad's not good enough. Juventus are just going to have to realize that they have no inherent divine right to trophies in Italy. You're just going to have to accept that. It's just you're going to have to compete.
It's not just about trophies, though, is it, Nima? It's about.
You're talking about 35. You're literally talking about trophies for 2
I know, but it's not just about trophies. It's about the fact that Juventus have not improved at all. It's about the players not improving at all. You know, it's about Vlahovic, Chiesa, so many other players that have been
injured.
Destroyed.
I mean, what do you want him to do with Chiesa having an ACL? Is that Allegri's fault now? I mean,
he's been back for 6 months, and his entire.
You were giving him praise like I was that he's good at bringing players back slowly but surely.
Back in January, yes, but we're now in May.
I think it's the right decision. I'm, as someone who loves the Italian national team, I don't want Chiesa rushed back. I really don't. I don't want another situation with Zaniolo. You know, I think it's like Zaniolo. I'm happy that he didn't rush him back. You know, give the guy a full preseason, and then next season that's when he has to start delivering.
Let's move on anyway. Let's give a little of an update on Juventus' legal situation. So first of all, the salary manoeuvres case. Can you just tell us where we are? That's the one where I've got the
most to say. But I think we should start with the Plusvalenza case.
Let's leave the Plusvalenza.
Because that's the one that today is we've got actual. You know, as we're recording this, there's been proceedings in the Court of Appeals where Kine, the prosecutor, has asked for an 11-point deduction for Juventus. We'll see what the actual...
Is that actually official? Has that actually been confirmed?
No, that's not the verdict.
But has that been confirmed officially that that's what he's asked for?
Yes, that's what he's asked for. Today we learned this. That's what he's asked for, and that we will find out soon what the actual verdict is. I don't know if it's going to be today. We're recording this on Monday the 22nd. By the way, happy Tripletta Day, all Interisti. And it's going to be whether or not it comes today or when it comes. But it should come over the next few days. But that's what he's asked for. Kine has asked for in the proceedings, because let's remember the Collegio di Garanzia sent the proceedings back to the Court of Appeals. They also, held that there was a Article 4 violation, and with all the other stuff that we've discussed in previous pods. I don't want to go into that because we'll be here forever. But he's asked for 11 points deduction. We'll see what actually happens.
Can that be more? Can that still be potentially more than 11 points?
The courts can do what they want. I just don't think they will. I find that very, very unlikely.
Okay.
I think. I mean, I still can't. I still. Think
I don't want to say too much now. I want to discuss this tomorrow in our Q&A episode. We want to talk about this once we know the results.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about it then.
I want to talk about it then. The only thing I would say now is I spoke to some people at Juventus yesterday, and they said that they were expecting it to be 12 because they expect it to be an afflictive punishment in which the intention all along was to ban Juventus, but deduct enough points from Juventus so they can't qualify for the Champions League. I mean, that's been confirmed pretty much by everyone. So, let's wait and see what it is, and let's see if the Champions League...
During this conversation, was there any self-reflection of assuming responsibility for what Juventus actually did? Because that's also part of it. It's not like somebody just invented this. They did these things. There have been found Article 4 violations because of the things Paratici, Agnelli, and the others did.
Well, listen, I've made my position clear. The salary manoeuvres case, which we're talking about, before, I believe the book should be thrown at Juventus.
It will be.
I think the Plusvalenza case is a farce. I don't think there should even be a single points penalty. That's my position. I've made that clear from day one. I think it's a total farce. I think the salary manoeuvres case, they should have the book thrown at them and some. I think it's very serious, whatever. This case, I think, is a complete farce from step one, and I think this whole case has been a charade from day one. If they were going to ban Juventus from the Champions League, just ban them. Don't go through this whole charade of 12 points, then 15 points, then it's brought back, then it could be less. Then they're going to now that Milan have lost more points, they're going to give more, so that Juventus are definitely going to be out because it has to be afflictive. Just ban them from day one, and so everybody knows. Don't have this. This charade and a kangaroo court because it's a farce.
I agree that this has not been handled well in the sense that the way that they were so quick to give those 15 points back, and they actually were. They received a little, slap on the fingers, a slap on the wrist by the Collegio di Garanzia when they deferred this back to the Court of Appeals, when they said that that decision of 15 points lacked justification or clarity. That, I think, was a bit silly of them to do. I think they should have been a little bit calmer. They should have handled this a little bit better. And had they done so, we wouldn't be here. That punishment would have already been there. And the reason for that punishment, and it would have been appealed, and the Collegio di Garanzia would have done what it did, and that means they would have found an Article 4 violation. And the reason they found an Article 4 violation is because of the Prisma investigation and everything, not just the phone calls, everything. The documentation, the phone calls, everything put together, which showed that there was an intent to deceive. And that's just how the sports law in Italy works. So that's what that is. As for the Plusvalenza case, as for the salary maneuver
just
case,
before you explain the situation salary maneuvers case, this is important then, because a lot of people have been asking me for you to answer this. What? And I know you don't have the answer, but can you just explain it anyway? You don't know. Can they appeal? Can they appeal?
Okay,
can Juventus appeal?
I have not found a conclusive answer to that, so I don't want to answer something because I've seen people legal experts say that they can and they can't. Both sides, I've seen that. So I want to wait until the actual verdict from the Court of Appeals arrives, and we know what we're dealing with here. Once
it would
it's
go to CAS, right? It would go to CAS.
I think it first has to go to TAR, or it could even go to... I'm not entirely sure on the procedure here, so I don't want to say anything. I want to first see black on white what the verdict is, and once we have that black on white, what they've concluded, and on what grounds, then we will know if Juventus can appeal, where they can appeal, if it's an appeal on a question of law or on a question of procedure, meaning once again was the rights of the defendant violated and not respected, and not as opposed to the actual legal merits of the case. All of that remains to be seen. I've seen legal experts say both things, so I'm not entirely sure, and so I don't want to spread any nonsense about this. I'm just saying, let's wait, let's see what happens. Let's see black on white what they get for the plusvalenza case. And once we know that, what the actual legal reasoning behind this
Well,
is.
they give the legal reasoning straight away, because in Italy sometimes they don't, do they?
They have to. I think in this case they will. But again, they have to produce that, because Juventus have to, as defendants, they have to decide what to do, so there will be something produced soon. I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if it's going to be at the same time or not. But like you said, I mean, it depends.
Yeah. Okay. Salary manoeuvres case very quickly, because we're going way over.
The salary manoeuvres case. What happened, I think, 3 days ago, was that there was the FIGC prosecutor Kiner believes that there has been a Article 4.1 violation, and that this will go within 30 days, meaning starting 3 days ago. There will be a new legal process, meaning there will be a court case, which will be about the salary maneuver of fictitious compensations for agents, as well as partnerships with other clubs, in order to create this situation. Now, what that means is that Juventus has been, are being prosecuted for direct and objective responsibility in a legal sense, whilst Agnelli, Nedved, Paratici, Cherubini, Manna, Morganti, Braghin have all are being prosecuted for under violating Article 4 and lealtà sportiva, which we've spoken about as well on this podcast, meaning that it's you're not you have to present yourself in an honest way. You're not allowed to deceive the system. Now, there's a couple of things here. One of them is the first salary maneuver, and it's for the 2019-2020 season, where it says that where the Prisma investigation showed that 21 players and Sarri gave up 4 months of wages. Only they didn't do that. They received 3 months payment of those 4. They didn't give up 4 months, but the thing that they handed in was that the players and Sarri had give up 4 months, only that they agreed that they were going to receive 3 of those 4 months, so they only give up 1 month. The second maneuver is for the following season, meaning for the 2021 season. It's a similar violation. However, it was for 17 players, and similar thing there, that they had given up more months of payments, but they hadn't, because there were secret contracts in place. Now, there's also another part here which talks about fictitious compensations to agents between 2015 and 2022, where they paid agents for deals that never took place. And then you have, and then it's small stuff like other things like that. But basically, the most important thing is, and from what I've understood, it's that this will be for next season. That whatever punishment they receive will be for next season, which suggests to me that Juventus won't be relegated. At least not for next season.
It also means 3 trophyless seasons. Let's keep Allegri. I want Allegri to stay.
You're talking about trophies when you were risking playing in Serie B against Catanzaro and Cosenza and, I don't know, Perugia. And
I might win a trophy there then, maybe.
Yeah, well, Jesus Christ.
Allegri can then say he won it.
Yeah. No, so that
I think it was clear, because the plea bargain, they were close to agreeing a plea bargain as well, which also suggested it probably wasn't going to be relegation as well. No.
It's clear to me that they don't want to do that. They will give Juve a hefty minus points for next season. That's what this suggests to me. Reading this.
Do we know how much, or too early to say?
Too early to say. We haven't even begun the legal case yet. We haven't even begun. We're not even in
That's
court
next
yet.
month, right? June. Yeah.
It
has to be finished by the end of June. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And why does it have to be finished by the end of June?
Well, next season needs to be planned, doesn't it? I mean, by June 30th, this court case needs to be finished, and
could Juventus appeal it after that? They could, couldn't they?
Let's wait until, please, calma.
Okay,
this is Italy. This is Italy.
Okay, I've had enough of Italian sports law. Don't want to hear about it ever again.
No, but listen. I mean, to me, this is the most Italian way of handling a scandal ever. And what I mean by that is Juventus have messed things up royally. They have effed things up royally. And they have left a paper trail, and Paratici is the dumbest criminal who has ever existed, I think, in Italian sports law history. So what they've done is
sports director as well.
Yeah, but that's another debate. So what he's done is, essentially they're saying, look, we can't get the crap back into the horse. We don't want to throw you out of the Serie A. That would hurt Italian football even more. So what we're going to do is we're going to prevent you from reaching European football, because that way we don't lose a spot in the Champions League, because we actually can have 5 teams in the Champions League, and we really want the Serie A to have 5 teams in the Champions League. So we're going to make sure that you don't reach the Champions League for all the stupid stuff you've done. We're not going to throw you out of the Serie A, but you're going to have to start next season with minus points because of the nonsense you've done. The players will also receive bans. The people involved will receive bans and fines. And, this way UEFA can't...
Will the players receive bans, though? Because there are a lot of Juventus players.
You are personally responsible for your taxes being paid on time and paid in a correct
manner. That's a lot of Juventus players then, isn't it?
Well, it is, but we'll have to wait and see what those players, what they receive as well. I've not found anything what's going to happen to them. But yeah, it's not, this applies to everybody. If you are responsible for your taxes... I think
Ronaldo and Dybala might be separate from that, though, because I think they had separate agreements.
Maybe they played
bargain. I don't know if they've got the information on that from what I've read.
I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But as far as Juventus are concerned, I mean, I just know that the players... Look, you maybe they plea bargained themselves into a fine, but we'll have to wait and see. But the question...
I think Chiellini's the one at the most at risk out of the players.
Well, he's not playing anymore, so what are they going to do? It's like when they gave Zidane a ban after headbutting Materazzi when that was his last game as a player. It's like, oh, wow.
He's still playing in MLS, though, no? Isn't he, Chiellini? Is he retired completely?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, didn't he retire? Like, isn't that like pretty much what he's going to do?
I'm not even sure.
He'll just retire and they can't do anything to him. But regardless... It's not the point. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like after they gave Zidane a penalty for, after headbutting Materazzi in the World Cup final, and he'd retired. That was his last game. But regardless, my point is simply this: that this is the most Italian way of handling it. Okie doke, the Italian okie doke. You messed up. You look. You hand in.
It's been a shambles from day one.
I don't think it's a shambles. I think it's they're trying.
I think Michele Piscitella calls it Italian sport or a cancer. That's what he called it. And I mean, it's just. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but they could have handled it better. They should, the fact that you take points, add them back, then take them back again. That's not a good look. That's just not a good look. But I gotta say, I'm sorry. At least Italian sports law punishes people for violating their rules, unlike some sports jurisdictions. No. Unless some sporting jurisdictions I could mention, of which the country of which you reside in, where clubs can for 9 years commit 115 alleged breaches and nothing happens. Nothing happens. So people talk about Italy being a banana republic. Then what is England then in that case? What is the United Kingdom in that case? And what's happening with Manchester City? It's please, just, everything is relative. Yeah. So,
tell Ceferin that as well. When he bans Juventus, tell Ceferin that.
Well, at least UEFA actually litigated the Man City, but what happened was that most of those instances were time barred. They were brought forward too late for them to be punished under. And because you at the CAS level, at the Court of Arbitration of Sport, So, that...
Well, you never know, Nima. Even if Inter lose the Champions League final, once this case in about 30 years...
in 35 years.
About 35 years, when they finally get found guilty for this, Manchester City, maybe they'll hand into the title.
Joke.
They'll hand into the title.
Absolute joke. No, it's bizarre. No, and that's what I want to say to everyone who makes fun of Italy. That at least Italy's aware of how dysfunctional it is. It's better to be open and honest.
And this is why I went.
Let me just finish. It's better to be open and honest about how dysfunctional you are, as opposed to pretend that your shit doesn't stink and think you're superior to everyone else morally and legally and every other way possible. And in fact, you're the most corrupt. So, pipe down,
shit under the carpet.
Pipe down, please. Pipe down.
And this is why I went berserk a few months ago when the Juventus thing happened, because this is the City stuff is unbelievable. But anyway, we'll have plenty of time to remind everyone about that in the next 2.5 weeks. I'm sure you will. You're doing it every single day on Twitter and freaking everyone.
I think it's so funny. I think I've the entire village or city of Stockport, I think I'm persona non grata there, and that really hurts my feelings.
I liked your tweet where you said, I've offended all of Manchester City's 7 fans from Stockport.
Nine fans.
Oh, sorry, 9, yeah.
Nine fans. And the three-legged dog that one of them owns. Pray for that three-legged dog. Yeah. Hashtag pray for the three-legged dog.
Right, Nima, let's just round this up and finish this. We've gone way over. So relegation race.
Oh my God! Did you see Lecce Spezia? Of course, you watched Lecce Spezia. It was absolutely.
If there was ever a game that was fixed, it was Lecce versus Spezia.
Oh, stop!
It was so. I'm sorry.
How was that fixed?
This was the most fixed game ever.
How?
Because the point benefits both of them. It means that they're both in control of their destiny. They were above Verona, and now they can both stay up. They knew Verona had lost. There was no chances in the entire game.
What are you talking about? They were both going for it. Albin Ekdal missed the chance to. No, it was not. This was not Austria. This was not a West Germany Austria from '82 World Cup. They really tried to go after it.
No.
They both tried to win this game. It was a complete shit show. The football was awful. There was lots of drama, lots of angry people, lots of angry Italians doing lots of angry Italian gestures. I absolutely loved it. And this,
Do you want me to read that? Let me read out the XG in this game. 0.2 for Lecce, 0.41 for Spezia.
Yeah, but I watched
this. Was the most blatant. I watched it as well. It was the most blatant fix ever. I mean,
because they were two teams involved in a scrap, and they wanted to not avoid. I mean,
anyway, Verona lost to Atalanta 3-1. Cremonese are relegated after they lost to 5-1. So we're now one relegation spot between 3 teams. Verona on 30 points, Spezia on 31, Lecce on 33. The remaining games for both teams is Verona play Empoli at home this weekend. Spezia play Torino at home, and Lecce play Monza away. And then in the final game of the season, Lecce play Bologna at home. Verona play Milan away. Oof. And who's the other one?
Spezia play Roma away.
Roma away.
Yeah. So that's if you're talking about biscotti, I think there's going to be. You could open up a cake shop.
I think so. Yeah.
I think you should give all these teams a ring.
We got competition. I was
going to say the amount of biscotti going around in these last few games is going to be absolutely fantastic. No, but all things considered, it's going to be an absolute nail biter until the death. And I honestly think that I think Verona are going down. I think Spezia just did enough to survive because
it's looking that way. Yeah, it's looking that way.
Yeah, and it's
let's discuss this. Let's discuss this on Thursday.
Yeah,
we can do it. We'll do a little preview and we'll see.
Yes, we will. We absolutely will.
All right. Rest of the games were Sassuolo 1, Monza 2, Cremonese 1, Bologna 5. As I said, Atalanta 3, Verona 1, Lecce 0, Spezia 0. Fix. Torino 1, Fiorentina 1, and then we have Roma Salernitana and Empoli Juventus playing this evening. Let's just finish off with Bad Joe and Prem Face of the Week. Okay, right, Bad Joe. I've got 2. First of all, Serie A teams in Europe, of course. Fantastic.
Di Lorenzo for me.
You got Di Lorenzo. I want to give a shout out to Italy under 20s. They started off their under 20 World Cup tournament on Sunday evening. They played against Brazil, who are the champions of South America. Got some really fantastic players, Brazil, and they beat them 3-2. And I watched the game; they were fantastic up until the 3-0. Brazil set up a tense finish with a couple of goals, but they were really really good. I mean, Baldanzi and Pafundi, wow, amazing.
Baldanzi was unbelievable.
Two incredible players. I mean, Pafundi's only 17, he only just turned 17. Oh, such great talents, dribblers, left-footed. Pafundi, what a great dribbler he is, so nippy. You can see why Mancini really wants to try and bring him to the squad and nurture him, because he's a real special talent. But also shout out to Casadei, the ex-Inter youngster at Chelsea. What a big, powerful lad in midfield. He scored 2 goals, and he was really, really good as well. So fantastic start for Italy. They look good. I think they can do well in this tournament. From what I've seen, it's only one game, but I think they look like they can challenge in this tournament for sure. With Baldanzi and Pafundi and Casadei in centre midfield, I think those 3 players they're going to be as good as most players in this tournament. So very, very promising. Prem face, Nima. I know who you're going to go after.
Javier Tebas is not even a Prem face. He's just an absolute disgrace. That's all I've got to say. He's not a Prem
I was going
face.
to say Tebas. I thought you were going to go for Neville, but Tebas's comments on Vinicius Junior.
I want to puke. I want to vomit. I literally want to vomit when I saw.
I was saying to some of my colleagues this morning. I was saying I thought Italy had a problem with racism. Well, Spain. I mean, Spain just take it to a completely another level.
Can you imagine how incredibly entitled and narcissistic and full of yourself you can be after a season when Vinicius Junior week in, week out is suffering racist abuse week in, week out, and he is angry because he's fed up of it. He's crying because and he goes on Twitter and criticizes this league for not doing enough, which they aren't doing. And he has the audacity and brass neck to quote tweet Vinicius Junior, and this is what he says. Now, I may have to pause because I might want to prevent myself from vomiting in my own mouth from disgust. This is what he says. We've tried to explain to you what La Liga is and what it can do in cases of racism, but you have not shown up to either of the 2 agreed dates that you yourself requested. Before criticizing and insulting La Liga, you need to inform yourself properly, Vinicius. Don't you let yourself be manipulated, and make sure you understand the work we have been doing together. Yes, Tebas is the victim here, not Vinicius.
Yeah, I found that hilarious. Vinicius getting blamed basically for the racism, and basically being told because he didn't turn up to a meeting. That's why. I mean, it's just shocking. It's shocking.
Disgusting.
He also recognises himself, Tebas, that he's been racially abused seriously 8 times this season. Vinicius, it's more than that actually, but these are the well documented cases where it seemed like, from what I've seen, it seemed like it was virtually the entire Valencia support that were racially abusing him. I mean, insane.
I love what Vinicius replied to him. He says, once again, instead of criticizing the racists, the president of La Liga takes to social media to attack me. No matter how much you talk and pretend not to read, it shows your competition in a bad light. Look at the responses to your own posts and surprise yourself. And ignoring it only makes you the same as the racists. I am not your friend when it comes to racism. I want action and punishment. The hashtag doesn't quite do it for me. It's just, how dare you? And then he continues.
Now he doubled down, tripled down.
Tebas says, neither Spain nor La Liga are racist. It is very unfair to say that. At La Liga, we do everything we possibly can to report and tackle racism. This season, there have been 9 reports of racist insults, 8 of them directed at Vinicius. We always identify the culprits and file a complaint with the disciplinary bodies. It doesn't matter if they are just a few. We are relentless. We cannot allow the image of a competition that is, above all, a symbol of unity among all people to be tarnished. More than 200 black players at 42 clubs are shown respect and affection from the fans on every match day, and racism is extremely rare, 9 cases, and something that we are going to eradicate. I mean, is he real? I genuinely want to puke. This man makes me sick to my stomach. He needs to resign. He has no credibility anymore.
No, but I mean, None of them do they? Right. Gary Neville's going to have to wait till next week, Nima.
No, he's just the in-house prem face. I mean,
he's just the in-house prem face. No Gary Neville this week. Right. Let's leave it at that then. We will be back on Tuesday. Tuesday for the Q&A, and then Thursday for review, midweek review, and obviously Coppa Italia final preview and review and preview of the weekend action. So plenty to talk about. Don't forget, Tuesday we will do a reflection on the Juventus points penalty. So definitely worth tuning in just for that, because that's going to be very, very important for
and it's
Juventus
always everything is available for patrons on patreon.com/TIFP. And this has been our best month ever. So thank you to everyone who signed up. We really appreciate all of you. We love what the community that this has become. All of you on Spotify, on Patreon, everywhere. We are so humbled and grateful to all of you.
Yeah, we are. Okay, right. Let's leave it at that. We will see you on Tuesday. Until then, ciao, ciao.